I just want to give you a little heads up about the IEP for this week. So the next couple of slides are going to be a review of the chapter that you read last week, but really important points about the IEP because it is a true cornerstone of special education. It is the blueprint. It is the plan for the student. That's why we skipped ahead in our law book and we skipped ahead a little bit. I want you to consider the IEP as a whole these first couple of weeks as we dig in other areas. One of the most important things to review and make sure you've read in Chapter 6 are the court cases that have really established the IEP and really brought us to where we are very currently today. That starts with the Hendrick and the Endrew, E-N-D-R-E-W cases. And what those have really affirmed, reaffirmed, restated, and made a point about is the fact that there's an I in IEP for a reason. It is an individualized education plan. There is no standard of progress. That means that there's no one way to do it for all students that have an IEP. It brings the legal term reasonably calculated, which really, as a former K-12, PK-12 teacher, I felt was a reaffirmation of our ability to use data and predict, but also recognition that things might change and go awry, but as long as we're continuously monitoring and making changes as needed, as a professional, our calculations are honored. What you can really think about here when it comes to no standard of progress, I think in the past years, with the real hard push for LRE and access to gen ed curriculum, I think maybe there's been a standard that a 7th grader with an IEP needs to be held to 7th grade standards. And while those are totally appropriate and high expectations, that's not it. That's not the end of the story. There's always an I in IEP and no standard of progress. So that's just a little example, but I want you to consider both case law and keep in mind the fact that the IEP is really the cornerstone and the blueprint for special education. And I've got a few more things from our chapter, but what I thought was most important for practicing teachers in the next couple slides.